Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. First tonight, the state's top health officials are under pressure to scrap quarantine requirements for close contacts. But Public Health warns that decision hinges upon Tasmania's current wave of infections dropping in the coming weeks.
One by one, staff at Kingston's cyber hair salon have been forced to isolate after being identified as close contacts. But the owner wants to see that rule given the chop.
We wouldn't have to be having staff calling in every day but unable to work, and the clients are also calling in because they've been in contacts and their last-minute cancellations.
For industries without a current exemption, workers are required to isolate for 7 days if they're a close contact of a positive case. The Small Business Council says it's affecting local traders and their bottom line.
They've got well and truly healthy staff who are unable to go to work because they may be considered a close contact or a close contact of a family member at home, and it's costing this economy thousands.
Tasmania recorded 2,108 new infections overnight, and with case numbers showing no signs of slowing down, the Director of Public Health says scrapping those rules depends on a significant drop in daily infections.
So the appropriate time to think about whether we replace contact management by quarantine with contact management by other measures such as RATs and the like is probably later in April.
And as COVID runs rampant in schools, the opposition is concerned about low vaccination rates among 5 to 11-year-olds.
16,000 in that bracket that are still unvaccinated. And it was the government's decision to open the border on December 15 without them being vaccinated.
While vulnerable Tasmanians have jumped at the chance to receive a booster after a Target recommended a 4th dose is needed as the best form of protection. Tasmania has the equal lowest hospitalisation and ICU rates in the country due to the success of our vaccine rollout. But the state government is warning not to become complacent, with case numbers expected to hover above 2,000 in the coming weeks.
And we just need to ensure that we continue to get boosted when due, and importantly, if you're or the parent of a 5 to 11-year-old or the carer of a 5 to 11-year-old, that you get that first dose.
As more staff and patients fall victim to the virus, the Royal and LGH have been escalated to level 3 of their COVID management plans, while the Mersey and North West Regional will remain at level 2. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
One of the men accused of murdering a 59-year-old from Sprint has faced Devonport Magistrates Court. Robert Mitchell Flanagan has pleaded not guilty to 6 charges, including the murder of Dean Jupp. Mr Flanagan was remanded in custody and will face a Burnie magistrate in June. The final day of the Disability Royal Commission has heard from Tasmania's Police Commissioner Darren Hine. He was questioned about the police role in protecting vulnerable people in the community. Mr Hine used the time to highlight the level of training and professional development officers undertake in relation to the sector.
That is one of our fundamentals, to be trusted and to be accountable, and to be for the community to have confidence in us, including anyone who has a disability as well.
There was a focus on the lived experience of girls and women who were victims of violence and abuse, many bravely sharing their stories across the 5 days. Work to begin lifting 2 sunken tugboats from the Mersey River is beginning after spending 63 days underwater. A specialist team has been flown into the state, while 2 barges are currently making the journey here from Brisbane.
Retrieving 2 sunken tugs from the Mersey River seems an enormous task, and today the operation begins.
They're all challenging, they all come with their own nuances, they all come with their own different requirements to be met.
The York Cove and Campbell Cove tugs have spent the past 9 weeks underwater after being hit by cement boat Goliath. A crew from United Salvage has been flown in to pull them out.
They're a mixture of skill sets, which is for heavy duty rigging, heavy duty lifting, engineering on the wharf, naval architecture and diving.
The tugs will be lifted by a 60-metre crane barge onto a 55-metre receiving barge, which will ship the wrecks to Bell Bay. The barges arrive in 4 weeks, but as yet, there's no finish date, with weather and shipping schedules to impact the operation.
There is some damage to the wharf infrastructure itself. We've seen some fenders being damaged and knocked off the berth. Probably some minor structural damage, but we can't physically assess it with engineers in the water until the 2 wrecks are actually removed from site.
United Salvage also says it will only find out how much debris is on the river floor once the tugs are gone.
I think the investigations primarily will focus on the safety learnings and the safety outcomes resulting from the incident. So that'll be the priority of the investigations. I think there'll be some aspects to that which would determine liability.
Tasports has handed all its evidence over to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau and the Australian Marine Safety Agency, who will continue to investigate the incident. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A warm shower and a change of clothes can make a world of difference for those doing it tough, and they'll be easier to find in Devonport with the opening of a new van in the area. The Loaves and Fishes charity says it expects 40 to 50 people a week to use the washing machines and showers in its new Grands van.
All of the funding for the shower and laundry unit has actually come from community donations, either through companies donating labour or materials towards the production of the unit.
The new facility, also funded by Action Against Homelessness, will be out in the community twice a week alongside the charity's food van. A local program has received state government funding to fill the gaps in Tasmania's youth employment avenues. Free services and training are being provided to set students up for a brighter future.
For many school leavers, the transition into employment is a road trip with no map. Tasmania's Youth Navigators program is helping to steer people like Nick Kaiser in the right direction.
I was pretty much looking for anywhere I could get work experience because I never had any.
The initiative provides free one-on-one coaching for those struggling to find work.
Youth unemployment in Tasmania is at 10.2%, which is unacceptably high, and almost double the overall unemployment rate.
For some young people I've worked with 20 to 25 times we've actually met because we've had to access different services.
Helping younger generations cross speed bumps big and small, from writing resumes to assisting with driving lessons, housing, traineeships and more.
Definitely helped me, find where I can work, what I'm able to work with and what industries I'm able to work at.
Nick is one of the program's success stories as he prepares for a new business endeavour next week.
I'm starting a traineeship at Macquarie Point, down by the waterfront.
He'll actually be developing a lot of transferable skills that will set him up for the future.
Colony 47 is urging local companies to invest trust in younger workers.
There's real reticence for employers to employ young people because they're worried they don't have the skills, but they can't get the skills unless they get the opportunity.
The program has received government funding to add another 3 statewide youth navigators and extend its services into March 2023. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Grassroots football in Hobart is receiving a $12,000 boost from funds raised at the annual Bill Sorrell Sports Luncheon last year. The cheque was donated to the Old Scholar Football Club Association today at its season launch.
I know how important community footy is to the general public and everyone around, so when you're able to put a few dollars and cents into footy clubs and stuff, it makes a massive difference.
It's fantastic to help a competition, and if we can keep clubs alive, well, I'll be very proud.
Funds will help cover the large costs of ground hire, umpire bills and insurance over the next 2 years. Well, new compostable doggy bags are being rolled out across Hobart parks and council areas. Made from cornstarch, the plant-based bags will break down naturally to reduce landfill and litter levels.
We would normally go through 900,000 of these little plastic bags every year just in the city of Hobart.
It's great the council provide bins and bags for us, and it's good they've taken the extra step to make them biodegradable.
Council members are also hoping to see a number of food and organic waste bins placed around the city in 2 years' time. A Tasmanian woman with cystic fibrosis has described the moment she found out a life-saving drug had been listed on the PBS. Lizzie Van Dongen spent months behind the scenes lobbying for the medicine and says her hope for the future is now restored.
Just 2 weeks shy of her 25th birthday, the celebration of life has already begun for Lizzie Van Dongen. It's been an anxious wait for news the game-changing medication Trikafta would be listed on the PBS.
It's, I think, the moment that any family living with like progressive terminal illness waits for their whole life or dreams of is a cure. And although Trikafta isn't a cure, it's the next best thing.
Cystic fibrosis patients will save an astronomical $250,000 annually, a relief for nearly 100 Tasmanians who could benefit.
It also provides hope, which, until really recently I'd completely underestimated the power of.
Paula Reet was one of the first people Lizzie called. The advocate has poured hours into supporting the local campaign for the drug.
To see that work having paid off and to see individuals just crying tears of joy on Sunday morning, and it makes me realise what a valuable role that we play in advocating for Tasmanians with CF.
Lizzie will now undergo baseline testing before she can gain access to a script for the drug. But the 24-year-old is already planning to tick off some major physical milestones in the coming months.
Extremely optimistically booked in a marathon in May, which might be pushing the friendship a little bit.
Early studies already showing the miracles of modern science.
It will actually treat the underlying causes of cystic fibrosis and not just the symptoms, and that is such a groundbreaking thing for people living with the condition.
Gifting the opportunity to chase any dream.
Who knows what the rest of the year will look like? It's a pretty open slate, fingers crossed.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Tonight's Demons and Bombers clash at the G will hold a special place in the heart of one Tasmanian. Boundary umpire Mitch Lefevre will officiate his 300th AFL game in his 14th year at the top level. However, another Tasmanian, Ben Brown, has been ruled out after being forced into COVID isolation. Sam Wiedemann comes into the side for his first AFL game since round 13 last year. Dylan Shiel and Nick Martin return for the Bombers. Coverage is live and free straight after the news. COVID has ripped through Launceston's TSL side with big names Joby Harper and Jackson Thurlow among 7 players forced out of this weekend's match with Glenorchy. The Magpies are looking to bounce back from a 3-figure belting in round 1, but will be strengthened by the return of skipper Josh Arnold. The Blues coach says he won't be taking the underdogs lightly.
We don't want to flirt with form in any way, shape or form. We need to make sure we have a strong four-quarter performance.
Meanwhile, Clarence will open their season against Canberra at North Hobart Oval. Meanwhile, the virus is again causing nightmares in Tasmanian soccer, with the entire Women's Super League round and one men's NPL match postponed this weekend due to widespread cases. Launceston City are themselves returning from a COVID-induced week off. They'll face crosstown rivals Riverside tonight, who'll have to wait an extra week to unleash their new Canadian import.
But unfortunately, he sort of picked up a small calf injury, and he's a fantastic footballer. He'll transform the way that we play.
I always love the Launceston Derby, especially on a Friday night under the lights. It's a bit of a different atmosphere.
The match kicks off at 7:45 tonight at Prospect Park. Cricket can be such a cruel game, and Tasmania's Ben McDermott is certainly feeling that today. After losing Aaron Finch for a duck, McDermott and Travis Head led Australia to a huge total in the second one-dayer in Lahore. In his 4th game, McDermott hit 104, his maiden ton, in the Aussies' 8 for 348.
Nice to score some runs out there today. It was nice for half of the game.
Imam ul Haq and Babar Azam hammered the makeshift Aussie attack with twin tons, Pakistan's greatest one-day chase. With 6 wickets and an over to spare, the series is level 1-1. There were smiles and plenty of laughs at Blunston Arena as our victorious women's cricket side basked in their drought-breaking one-day cup triumph. Our first ever WNCL title followed the 9-wicket crushing win over South Australia last weekend. This is the players' last day of post-season testing before they enjoy a well-earned break. The Launceston Tornadoes say the motivation and drive for championship glory hasn't faded despite 2 disrupted NBL 1 seasons. The club's biggest attacking weapon, Keely Froling, arrived back in Tasmania today, locked and loaded for another jam-packed year. For the past 2 seasons, Keely Froling has been the main cog in the engine of the Launceston Tornadoes. COVID killed their championship charge on both occasions. This year, she's determined to go one better.
Nothing shorter than a championship.
The 26-year-old has returned to Tasmania after a scintillating WNBL season with the Sydney Flames, where she was voted the MVP.
Obviously finished the season pretty well, so got a lot going for me at the moment and just going to keep rolling hopefully into winter.
A winter that's promising to be very busy. Along with NBL 1 ambitions, she's vying for both a Commonwealth Games spot and an Opals jersey for the Home World Cup.
It's always fun to play for Australia and always an honour, and you know, it'll be exciting to go to a Com Games as well.
Coach Sarah Veal has found it easy to build a team around Froling along with fellow star Kelsey Griffin. More signings are set to be revealed in the coming weeks.
One's overseas coming back, but they're all local players.
3 weeks out from round 1, the Tornadoes are just hopeful for a campaign without disruptions. And today, as many people know, is April Fool's. So for our Friday flashback, we're looking to the 5 silliest sporting clips in our archive. And we begin with a very 90s take on the future of football.
Welcome to Future Ball, Coca-Cola's $1 million promotion in the 1992 AFL season. Featuring the era's biggest stars, Lockett, Carey, Winmar, Platten, the promotion was described as how the game will be played in the 21st century, complete with protective gear and refreshment required signals. Amazingly, the promotion was ahead of its time in one regard. Silver footballs were used nearly 3 decades later in AFLX. At number 4...
There you are, Bernie. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Dave. Nice bit of wood, that.
Right then. What do you reckon?
Thanks, Dave.
Commercial gold featuring the state's favourite Suns, and it wasn't their only effort together.
Bernie kept forgetting his lines, and all he had was that, "You're a lucky man, Dave."
Number 3, 1981 at West Park.
Come with me if you want to, says Grey Hiller. And Grey Hiller's in there now, but the ball's on the other side of the ground, and once again, play on, and this is good umpiring if they can keep it going.
The goal umpire was so caught up in the scrap, he missed the goal.
Now, and look, there's no one in the forward line. The ball's bounced. There's 3 Devonport players. Is it going to beat them all? No. Barry Brown gets in there first, and a goal it is. And another player has been flattened behind the play. Well, that's the way it goes.
Number 2.
I think actually we could probably shave that little curly bit off there. It's a bit sus, really.
Steve Titmus promoting Sky Race to Top Gun music. And at number 1, the State League's hard men David Rees-Jones and Dale Waitman hamming up a boxing match to pump up interest for a roster season game.
During the game it'll be flat out trying to, as you said, knock each other's head off, I suppose.
Maybe we'll see more of this in the TSL press conferences this year. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. 19 was the state's top today in Devonport, 17 across Launceston and Burnie, Hobart 16. St Helens and Grove 17, 18 in Ouse and 9 in Lyowini. On the close-up, mostly clear skies over the northwest with cloudy conditions over the rest of the state. Further out, an active cloud band with embedded thunderstorms lies over WA. Tomorrow a high drifts southwest of Tasmania while a trough extends over the tropical north. South to southeasterly winds tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots, swells up to 3 metres in the west and south and up to 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for the central north, Banks Strait, Franklin Sound, the east coast and Flinders Island. Tomorrow's forecast now, 17 across Hobart and Medina, Oatlands a possible light shower. In the north, 21 and partly cloudy across Launceston and Devonport, Lyowini 13. Burnie and Strawn tomorrow, partly cloudy, Marrawar 20. St Helens and Orford expecting a light shower or 2 and Swansea 16. The UV forecast is reaching moderate 5s across the state. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast now, Sunday showers in the east with east to southeasterly winds. Monday mostly fine about the northwest and central north, showers elsewhere. And Tuesday showers about the west extending statewide during the day.
Capital cities, 29 and a possible shower in Perth tomorrow. Adelaide, partly cloudy and 34 in Darwin. And currently Hobart, mostly cloudy and 14, Launceston 16 and Devonport, partly cloudy and 16. That's all in weather, Kim.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and that is all your news for now. Thanks for joining us tonight. Louise and the team will be with you over the weekend. For now, good night.